as of June 4th, India ranks last place on the best dictatorships index. Netflix. I know that they're already like, we got a story. We got a great story in the works here.
Which star kid is gonna play him? Social media is the reason that this kid is not in Hawaii right now.
Yeah, and like journalists like Shiv Arur and all have been hard. They're like, we're not gonna drop this case.
Yeah, maybe a little racism going on there from that white guy not liking.
100%, man. Unfortunately, Indian policy operates on shame. Final thoughts before I get drunk and pass out. I've read the Al Jazeera article about this from the usual culprits, usually.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for saving our democracy. What, now they're not stupid?
Yeah. Hoodwink everyone in Madhya Pradesh, but not UP. Dude, how can you even have a logical or rational conversation when these are kind of things floated out? It's like the Pune Porsche case, not the name of the kid or the guy's last name or the drunk driving case. It's the Pune Porsche case.
Welcome everyone to another episode of The Overcorrection. Today, we are going to be talking about what happened on the 4th of June. The 4th of June was a very important day for all Indians, something we were really looking forward to, and they did it. They released the photos from the Ambani cruise, and boy, was it amazing. Oh, it's just so fun to watch. You know, we have spoken about the Ambani and their wedding festivities before, and we, to this day, continue to defend their right to do so.
Yes.
But as with all things that are amazing,
yes,
there were some downsides, which points us to this article that I read. Wealthy Wedding Party, Offensive, Bad-Mannered is the title. A cruise ship packed with the cream of Indian society for an opulent wedding party has prompted numerous complaints to the police after it pulled into a port of Genoa and pumped out loud music until dawn. Doing everything right.
Sounds like a good party.
An estimated cost of 139 million euros, the Mediterranean cruise for 800 revelers is just one event in the run-up to the July wedding of Anant Ambani. The manager of the Pune restaurant in Genoa refused to serve lobster sandwiches to the partygoers, despite an offer of £10,000. Manager Andrea Miroli said he found their behavior offensive, bad-mannered, and incorrect. I have my customers and an illustrious history to protect.
Yeah, scathing to see something like that coming out, right?
What do you think?
Man, I have a few thoughts on that. I think one, this is something that's not new. I think we've seen generally certain kind of ostentatious celebrations. The Indian people are used to that display of pomp and noise and this and that. And I think when it's done abroad, a lot of people just can't understand it at some level. I want to say, like the same thing if it was like a, Calvin Harris concert playing extra loud. I don't think it would get the same amount of thing for being like too loud off the coast. So I don't know. Certain level of thing is like, okay, this shit does just this happen.
Yeah, maybe a little racism going on there from that white guy not liking
100%, man.
Indians coming there.
I've experienced it abroad, and like, so my quick take, unrelated to, I think we will get into that part, but like sometimes these are written in a way to like paint Indians with a broad brush on how we travel. And while there's always some truth in the stereotype, of course, I think it's also kind of sometimes racist, because like, have you seen how like British people are known to travel, or Aussies when they go to like a beach destination and completely trash the place?
Yeah, they'll probably like come here and wake up like a poor vada pav wala like in the middle of the night saying, come on, serve us, we're just here, and they do some crap like that.
Yeah.
These guys are troubling like a really fancy restaurant
And
owner.
you'd never see an article like this written about like people coming and doing this in India, I would think, in general. So those are some thoughts, but
yeah, I mean, let's face it, offering £10,000 to like, it's just it's such an it's an unsavory, like the visual and the thought of it is just so sad. And it's just one of these, it's not one of the Ambanis probably. They would have offered £1 million.
Yeah,
£10,000 is like what the poorest person at that wedding had in his pocket at that time.
It's not the Ambanis doing, because the Ambanis asked, they would have got the bloody lobster roll. You know what I mean?
So I think I wanted to read two of the comments on this post, which I thought were very funny. One is Ambani says, I can buy everything in this world. That one guy, not my sandwiches. And the best comment, बाकी सब ठीक है. गुजराती शादी में lobster sandwich किसने मंगाया?
Yeah, I
Oh man, you cannot beat Instagram.
But yeah, do you think this is something that's unique to Indian travelers of a certain section in society?
There are like 3 Indians like this.
Yeah.
So I don't even think like this is a. You're
Yeah.
literally talking in like tens of people in the world who
Yeah.
have this kind of wealth to do this kind of
Yeah.
thing.
What I also know is that this is the kind of article that's written by someone. I've noticed this with the Ambani events so far. A lot of the articles are written by people where if they got invited for it, they would go in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
In a heartbeat. That article is not coming out. They will be there at Pune 2 restaurant having a lobster roll and enjoying themselves. So I feel like at some level it's also, can you make the cut or not? And if you don't make the cut, it's like, okay, time to hate. You know?
Yeah, this someone was talking about it, the eat the rich
Yeah.
vibe of
It's just sad. I don't know.
content that's really trending. You know, people like seeing rich people painted badly in a bad light
Correct.
because there's probably a natural distaste for them.
Correct.
And there are a lot of reasons to have that distaste, which I think we should now get to.
Yes.
As a little bit of a preempt to this, I've always thought it's weird that, or unfortunate rather, that in today's day and age, amongst elite Indians, an average 30-year-old will probably not be married or not have children at least.
Right.
And an average 30-year-old who's a middle class guy or girl will probably have a child, probably a second on the way. But there is a tendency in general and specific to elite Indians where they don't want to have children.
Right.
For they want to pursue their career more, they want to, say, enjoy their life without some of the responsibilities that come
Correct.
with having children. All fair points, but it's just unfortunate that in a country like ours, the class of people that can probably afford to give a fantastic education and a great life to 10 or 15 children easily without it affecting anything are the ones not having kids. So I always used to think, man, it's probably better if wealthier people have kids and, you know, put out more educated people into this world.
Yeah.
And then something like this Pune Porsche case happens. And I'm like, man, if you're going to be just buying your kid Lamborghinis to speed around drunk when they're underage, don't have kids.
Yeah. And well said, man. Well said. I think that case has really shown such a deep rot in a lot of institutions in how class operates in India.
You're absolutely right about the rotten society because here I am, you know, criticizing the parents for allowing this type of thing to happen. But the truth is, if the society is not, and if the government is not able to prosecute this kid and corruption is getting in the way of having justice, then this type of thing it's sort of the market saying it's okay for a certain class of people to do it.
Correct.
And we've been having this we have seen this over the years. Every case is just a rich kid. It's never like a kid in like a secondhand Santro running a bunch of people over.
And if they did, you would not even know about it. It would not become famous because chances are they'd already just put the kid in jail.
Right away.
Yeah, there would be no. In this case, I mean, it's been egregious, dude. You had attempts to swap blood samples to show that there's no alcohol content in the blood.
Taking the alcohol, they took his blood like 8 hours later after he's had a meal.
Apparently, they gave him a pizza or they ordered a bite for him. And then there was also
lobster roll, apparently.
And the grandfather tried to apparently coerce the driver into...
it came out that the driver
saying
came
it
out
was
saying he
him.
did it.
So, like, just shocking, not surprising though. I don't know why. To me, this
Commentators were saying that, you know, in 2 days, the driver's going to say it, and 2 days later, the driver said
it.
And had this social media shitstorm not been created, this would have been just the driver would be sitting in jail. He would have like money kept outside for him. He would have considered it some type of like success. Money he could have never earned in 10 years working outside.
Yeah. And it's like the commentators, like it was almost like the commentators were preempting what was going to happen, knowing full well, you know, how this game is played out usually. But what I wanted to say is, I feel like in this case, there's like one brand that's winning big time and one brand that's losing. I'll tell you my thoughts. This is probably the worst marketing campaign that Porsche has ever run, I think. Because that's like, it's such a curse. I think it's the only other brand that has suffered from the entire problem being associated with your name. So it's like the Pune Porsche case, not the name of the kid or the guy's last name or the drunk driving case. It's the Pune Porsche case. It's like the last time we saw a brand get completely tarnished by one thing, it was the right?
And they survived. They're thriving.
Yeah, it's still great beer. So
Yeah.
they survived. So hopefully Porsche survives.
Yeah.
But the brand that's gonna at some point, I'm telling you, gonna make killing on this is probably Netflix. I know that they're already like, we got a story. We got a great story in the works here. Like, because it's like something out of a movie, right? Grandfather coerces the driver, blood samples swapped, apparently 70 odd calls between the hospital and an MLA. Like, it's murky as all hell. So
Okay.
I'm sure there's a true crime show.
Oh my God, which star kid is gonna play him?
I hope
Knowing him now, they'll probably launch the kid as an actor playing himself, and
oh God, that would
Okay.
really be like the saddest thing.
Jesus.
But I hope that there's justice. And here, I think this is the strength of like journalism, good journalism.
And strength of social media. As
Strength
much
of
as
social
we
media.
shit on it.
Yeah.
Like, social media is the reason that this
Yeah.
kid is not in Hawaii right now.
Yeah. And like journalists like Shiv Arur and all have been hard. They're like, we're not going to drop this case, even though election coverage is coming up. We're going to stay on top of this. We're going to stay on
Fantastic.
top of
Kudos to them.
it. Yeah. So until some kind of justice, see, he's a juvenile. So the whole question is like, okay, who gets tried? What's going to happen? We call the show Overcorrection for a reason, right? Like sometimes humans have a tendency to take things a bit too far on either way. And I noticed, and I want to know your thoughts on this. I was seeing that on this case, since they've like arrested the grandfather and the father for apparently abetting in the suicide of some businessman's son in Pune. So like 2-3 unrelated things. Also, they've gone and like raised one of their luxury properties for some permits. So it seems like, and I've said this before, unfortunately, Indian policy operates on shame. Right? You shame an official enough, your work will get done. Right? I don't know if you noticed, there was this outside the Danish embassy in Delhi. Apparently, there was a complete mess. And like the ambassador to just come and be like, dude, this is supposed to be clean. The next day it was clean. That's what I mean. It's like a shame system. So here, the news and the social media and journalism has exposed this deep rot in like the criminal system for elites. And now I feel like there's like an overcorrection. Like we're gonna go after this. We're gonna throw the book at this family.
Yeah.
We're going to shut down like random bars in Mumbai. Like they're hurting. I heard like in Pune and all the bars are really struggling.
I mean, that's because they're serving underage
I know.
kids. And if this is one random offshoot, that's a good consequence
Correct.
to me. Like, yes, they're going to be hurting, but if they're only enforcing serving
Yeah.
underage, not being able to serve underage kids, that's a good thing. But in terms of prosecuting that family, I feel they're trying to make up for like all their shame. Like every pizza they ordered him, you have to prosecute some random family member.
Yeah.
And these are probably all crimes they've covered up before, and now that his favors have run out.
Yeah.
And they were saying it's like it's not even the CM's son.
Correct.
It's just a random builder.
Which
It's
shows-
not even like Pune's biggest builder.
Correct.
Some builder in Pune. That's all you have to be able to get away with killing 2 people,
Yeah.
and could have had social media not intervened.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, to even check what I just said and like disagree with myself, yeah, it maybe is a bit of an overcorrection now that they're like just clamping down on everything, throwing the book, basically trying everything they can to try the whole family and, basically hold all bars and pubs in Mumbai and Pune to account. At some level, if there is a crime that you believe has been committed with probable cause and you're going to investigate that, yeah, you should try it.
Yeah.
Right? So if there is a instance where this family has illegally built something, yeah, the law should go after it. But it's the sequence of it that makes it look more egregious,
Yeah.
right? Like I think we were talking earlier.
like when the ED went after Kejriwal.
Correct, right? So the sequence shows some kind of game at play. But if he is culpable of the crime,
That's their job to go after him.
that is their job to go after them, right? And we can feel uncomfortable about it, that why are they not going? And that's the thing. I mean, they do go after a whole host of people. Certain cases are sensationalized. So this is an example of a sensationalized case.
Moving on from the sensational to the of national interest.
Yeah.
The actual important thing that happened on June 4th was the election results.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Absolutely. I'm most happy, Rohan, because as of June 4th, India ranks last place on the best dictatorships index.
But we have some people who will disagree with you on that. So we started with a post from Andheri West shit posting, something we found humorous. And then here's another post from him.
Final thoughts before I get drunk and pass out. My dude here not just used ED, CBI, IT, NCB, and judiciary, but also the Election Commission to arm twist dissent, suppress opposition, independent journalists, and make a custom election plan that suits his party. Yeah.
So here's the post, and essentially there is a lot of truth in the post.
Yeah.
Parts of it's a long post, but the part I really wanted to talk about is his condemnation of the ECI.
Yeah.
If this election should tell you anything, is that it was a fair election.
Yeah.
As fair as you can be. Certainly not what y'all were saying a rigged election would be. This would be the worst rigged election in history.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If you claim that they have essentially already a level 100 Hitler level dictatorship power, why would you badly rig an election? It just doesn't add up. So, I mean, there's a few things in this because I've had a few conversations with some people that were saying, no, bro, but it's still rigged. But rigging is a catch-all term. No one has had the decency to first address EVMs. That was the big thing that they were talking about. That the EVMs are malfunctioned and being abused. That has been thoroughly disproven. And not a single person has had the courtesy to say that, hey, look, we were wrong about that. So when here he's saying that spreading misinformation and lied about the opposition blatantly, basically there's been massive blatant lies on all parts, as is so often in an election cycle.
So most of what he's describing through his post is just typical election stuff.
Correct.
Calling out the ECI for me is just, you're calling into question, like, what do you mean? Then if you think they are a compromised body, then don't believe these results also. Stop praising these results then.
Correct.
If you still feel it's a compromised body.
See, that's where things, for me, really get so dicey. It's like, again, nothing you can say can convince someone when they're so far in that black-pilled worldview of the country. Right? If you believe it, like we are at doomsday, and this is what it looks like, then there's no way you can convince someone that there's a lot of work that goes into running these elections, and it is an insanely difficult task to do so. So there's a real conversation around, okay, were on the electoral rolls, did they intentionally remove names of people? I've heard that they would not put names of Muslims in certain constituencies. Again, the large portion of this, I've read the Al Jazeera article about this from the usual culprits, usually, on all these articles. The sources of this is extraordinarily shaky. From newspapers that have essentially lost most credibility because they were also claiming that the EVMs are rigged. Right? So, we're willing to accept anecdotal evidence when it's convenient, but otherwise you're not willing to give anybody else the due credit of using an anecdote in terms of evidence, which you should not in general. Right? So they're saying, no, bro, you don't understand. In my constituency, I saw that there were people standing there and they said their name was not on the electoral roll. Yeah, dude, even people in my family who are not in their definition of minority, right? Or even their name was not there because of a mess up.
Yeah.
Right? So I've said this before, Hanlon's razor. Do not attribute to
malice what you can attribute to stupidity.
Stupidity, right? So a lot of times it might just be that, but it's a very convenient time to throw out insane statements like this. So I think this itself kind of at some level reeks of an elitism, because it shows that a lot of people have misunderstood and continue to misunderstand the Indian electoral process and how this democracy thinks, how its people think, us included.
And I think one of the most ironic parts to me is people on the left really praising UP as a state, when for the last 2 years or 3 years, 10 years, they have just been trashing the mindset of the people who live there.
Yeah.
These people are uneducated, they don't know what's good for them, they're bought into this religious thing, they're so pro all this nationalistic Hindutva that, it's only up to us here in the cities who could probably understand what's going on. And now, thank you guys, thank you for saving our democracy. What, now they're not stupid?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, so suddenly on June 4th, and this is something I really want to address. Suddenly on June 4th, a lot of people that to you were bigots were instantly not bigots anymore,
Yeah.
right? Based on an election that you still think is somewhat rigged. So it doesn't even meet the most basic logical test, these statements. Dude, hear me out, Ron. And this is what we saw in America. And I thought that was very problematic then, it's problematic here. It's the same thing happened. How could Trump win in 2016? I met people, dude, in the coastal elite cities in the US, your SF, San Francisco, New York's, people saying, no, dude, you don't understand. Like half the country is racist. Okay? While there might be a critical mass of people that were racist or sexist or misogynist, you are not willing to actually sit down and do a proper critical analysis of why you lost those states, right? Here's why this analysis of, Indians were just bigots. In the seats where the India Alliance lost, there was a greater percentage of bigots. is the logical statement we're testing? You hear me out on this?
Yeah.
So suddenly UP for 10 years was bigoted. On June 4th, no longer bigoted. Odisha, lovely, very progressive culture in the east, suddenly bigoted on June 4th. Arunachal Pradesh are now bigots. Andhra Pradesh are now bigots. Madhya Pradesh, which is like very similar in a lot of ways to UP, where BJP clean swept, they are of course all bigots, right? But UP was somehow different, so they managed to hoodwink everyone in Madhya Pradesh, but not UP. Dude, how can you even have a logical or rational conversation when these are the kind of things floated out? So instead, where people should be saying is that, look, there's a serious need for the incumbent or the BJP here to introspect into why they lost UP. And most of the signs are pointing towards a large scale, local constituency level mistakes that they've made. MPs were not visiting their constituencies. They did not manage it well. There was infighting. So the argument that most people want to say is that no, suddenly everyone is woken up and realized that India is democratically backsliding and we have to stand up for it. Yeah, while there's maybe people we know voted for that reason, right? But a lot of the people there, it's like, that's not even in the basic calculation, dude. So you've actually, and here's the flip side of it. I don't know if you've seen this, but the day after the election, or 2 days after, people were lining up outside the Congress office with documents saying that they were guaranteed money from the Congress for voting. Like that minimum guarantee program that they'd rolled out. They're like, where's the money? Right? So if you're saying that somehow this all is well and good and you're happy that this opposition has done well, which I am, I've said that on record as well, that they've put a dent in the majority.
I know BJP supporters who voted Congress because they didn't want BJP to have too much of a landslide victory.
Correct.
A perfectly fair reason to vote.
Correct.
You want a healthy opposition, so you're going to throw your support in favor of them.
But in this case, massive misinformation that has helped you also. Going and basically promising people that will bankrupt the exchequer, but you're just doing it to somehow score your win. So at some level, it's disingenuous as well. If we're all thinking about, okay, what do we want that's best for India? At some level, this might not even be the case. And apparently, a lot of misinformation also spread on, and this is where I think the BJP really shot itself in the foot with the 400 par claim. And by the way, there was a deepfake video that spread about this that was then, I think it used Amit Shah's voice, and then there was a whole case on this. But basically going around saying, if they get 400 par, 400 plus, they're going to amend the constitution, change the constitution, and remove reservations. Max level fear mongering. Right? So again, that level of fear mongering, if you go in rural UP and say, dude, you're going to lose your reservations, that is enough to freak the hell out of someone to not vote. But it still does not explain, because these things the reservation applies across the country. So then how can they clean sweep Madhya Pradesh? A lot of similar caste dynamics there too, not at the scale of UP, but it's still there. So then there's obviously something else at work. And that can only happen through like a unbiased, clear analysis of where the mistakes were and where they weren't. Right? I do think some of the awful shit that they have said about minorities has obviously affected them in certain constituencies. Right? But they've also won constituencies with high percentages of minorities as well. Or state assemblies with them. So, and state and center always, the elections can also shake out in different days. So where Congress won a state, they would have lost it in the Lok Sabha, and where BJP won, they actually lost it in the Lok Sabha. So, I mean, dude, it is a Game of Thrones. It's like very, very complex and dynamic. And the thing is, all your media is now just quickly searching for, we want to put people in a box, right? Bigot, non-bigot. But it's not going to work.
I think maybe this election, while I'm not so clued in on the politics of it, I was just seeing the social fabric of our population just being ripped apart. That was my main reason for being happy. Is just to maybe see like, hey, are we reaching a more balanced population?
Yeah.
Like that would be so nice. I just did not want 4 more years of, either we're now a communist country or we're
fascist
now
country
a fascist country. I just wanted like, hey, we have a center, now it's a coalition government. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
To some just different at least, even if it's in terms of healing how people think about politics. And it not being this one-man show. I think that is equally important.
See, it pushes more topics to debate immediately. The minute you have a stronger opposition in terms of the seats, let me be very clear, I don't think they're strong in a lot of the values they represent. I think they're just strong in terms of the strength that they can now challenge. If you today decide that you want to idolize the Samajwadi Party and Congress that barely managed to get 99 seats, or Uddhav Thackeray, because you now believe that they're the bastions of an inclusive India, I might want to take you back to some of the awful shit that they've said through their political career. Politics is politics. Dude, Uddhav Thackeray was with BJP like in 2019. Saying that, don't listen to what the minorities are saying. And I met some people who are like, oh, dude, Uddhav Thackeray is my guy, I'm like, so dude, you don't... this game is a lot dirtier and it's always been like this, and you need to try and cut through that. You need to cut through your biases to really understand what's going on.
Let's try not overcorrecting based on the results of these elections.
Correct.
On either side of the fence.
Yeah. And I think one good thing we can say is coalition governments in the past, whether it is Vajpayee or even Narasimha Rao, have shown that you can push tremendous reform. And I don't think this government is a type that would back down. And I think the guys that have joined, which I'll just quickly say, like whether it's Chandrababu Naidu or Nitish Kumar, Chandrababu Naidu has a real intent to make, Amravati the capital of Andhra Pradesh. And he's going to do a lot. And I think if he gets the necessary support in terms of the finances to do that, I think he'll stick with this. And Nitish Kumar, who helped get the majority from Bihar, he has had a history of flip-flopping, but people are saying that he wants to leave a lasting legacy, which again might be possible through this coalition. So it's going to be an interesting time ahead. You might see a burden on our exchequer again, because coalitions can lead to competitive welfareism. You're going to have to loosen the purse strings, which I think BJP messed up on, right? They were so hardline on fiscal deficit, fiscal consolidation, this, that. They were benefiting from low oil prices. They still didn't drop the price of petrol. Those things hurt the poor people in the country.
Okay.
And they need to realize that. Yeah. So at some level, maybe they were... I read a great piece. It said, look, the election also showed at some level, India is still a profoundly poor country. So while we can say capex and this and that, and we are maybe thinking long-term, as a lot of economists do, but as a lot of economists have said, in the long term, we're all dead. On the long run, we're all dead. So you have to still, I think they got very callous and they, maybe thought that they were just going to cruise through a victory, and this has been a necessary wake-up call, I think. But one last thing before we close, which I found again hilarious. They were saying that even now, so this goes to show how insane sometimes the India alliance has been, dude. They're saying that because BJP was unable to get the majority of 272, Modi has lost trust to be the PM. Meanwhile, they have just lost 3 back-to-back elections and not even been able to cross 100 seats, the Congress. So, by any benchmark, Rahul Gandhi should have already stepped down saying, I'm unfit. I don't have the mandate of the people. But here they're telling a party that got 240 seats, which is more than the entire India alliance, that they have not received the mandate. So you see how words and narrative can be used, right, to push your agenda, and it's done by both sides. I've again said that very clearly. But like you say, we just need to be careful on not overcorrecting and holding politicians to account, which I hope that this coalition government will do.
It's called, what does it feel like? A Pyrrhic victory, a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah.
It's a victory that I don't know what exactly the word is. A victory that feels like a defeat and a defeat that feels like a victory.
Yeah. It's generally like there's such a huge loss of life that it's like, was this even worth it? It's like a Pyrrhic victory. Yeah. So,
Anyways, that's the episode for today, guys. Thanks for watching.
yeah.
Fun and yeah, don't overcorrect.
Don't overcorrect. Don't drive. Don't drunk and drive.
Seriously. And don't hate on Porsche, man. They did not do
Yeah, they make
anything.
beautiful cars.
Okay.